All done.
I wanted these rubber stoppers.
I'll have them for the competition.
No stoppers. Hello, how are you?
Hey, Abby.
It's good to see you.
I will explain the gossip. Never miss this video. Please subscribe to the channel. If there's one thing we've learned from watching Dance Moms, it's that Abby Lee Miller doesn't just teach dance. She dominates every room she enters with a personality that's as bold as her infamous one-liners. In this 7th installment of our iconic Abby Lee Miller compilation, we're going full throttle into the jaw-dropping moments, chaotic confrontations, and legendary catchphrases that had fans both gasping and laughing over their popcorn. Buckle up, because when Abby's in the spotlight, you never know what's coming next. This phrase became Abby's unofficial slogan, shouted across studio floors, backstage chaos, and even in quiet dressing rooms where tears had barely dried. She didn't ask the girls if they were okay. She asked if they were ready to sacrifice everything to win. In one particularly unforgettable episode, Abby's screaming match with Kendall and Jill centered around exactly this mindset. Jill insisted her daughter was overwhelmed. Abby shot back, "Overwhelmed? She should be grateful she's even on this team." And just like that, Kendall's talent was overshadowed by Abby's relentless push for perfection. No iconic Abby Lee compilation would be complete without revisiting the weekly pyramid, a symbol of hierarchy, favoritism, and heartbreak. By part 7 in this series, we've already seen the pyramid go wrong plenty of times. But one of the most savage moments came when Abby tore up the pyramid mid-speech. After a competition loss she deemed embarrassing, Abby didn't even make it through the top row before dramatically slapping the papers off the mirror and storming out. "None of you deserve to be up here," she spat. "You're lucky I don't cancel the entire team." The dramatic tension in the room? You could cut it with a knife. It's one of Abby's most meme-worthy catchphrases. And yes, she meant it. During a particularly intense rehearsal with Nia, who was struggling to hit her musical cues, Abby exploded. Holly tried to intervene, but Abby silenced her with a glare. "No one's going to feel sorry for her on stage," Abby snapped. "Save your tears for your pillow." The phrase became so iconic that fans made shirts, mugs, and TikToks quoting it for years. Even JoJo Siwa, who had her own share of battles with Abby, once joked that she hears that line in her dreams. In a twist of dramatic irony, Abby, who famously condemned dancers and moms for walking out, once walked out on her own team during a group rehearsal. Tensions were running high, the choreography wasn't coming together, and Abby had had enough. "Figure it out yourselves," she huffed, grabbing her purse and dramatically slamming the studio door. Cue the chaos. The girls scrambled to remember the steps. The moms started bickering, and Abby? She was caught on camera ordering a coffee down the street. Legendary. Abby's war wasn't just with her team. It extended to the judges' panel, too. At one competition, after Maddie shockingly placed second, Abby stormed backstage and confronted the judges directly. "Do you know who she is?" she demanded. "Do you know how many hours that kid trains?" That routine was flawless. Security had to intervene as Abby shouted, "I know dance. You don't get to talk about what you don't understand." This moment solidified her as not just a coach, but a full-blown Dance Moms villain/antihero. Yes, the chair throw, an iconic moment so shocking it practically broke the fandom. During an argument with Kelly over Brooke's choreography, Abby's frustration boiled over. After accusing Kelly of being ungrateful and disrespectful, she turned around, grabbed a chair, and flung it across the studio floor. No one was hurt, but the energy? Unhinged. The reaction from the moms was pure shock, and Kelly's response, storming out, kids in tow, made this moment one for the history books. Following a particularly explosive fight with Christy over Chloe's lack of solos, Abby delivered one of her most dramatic speeches ever. "I don't need you," she declared, pointing at each mom in turn. "I don't need any of you. I can find 1,000 dancers better than your kids. You're replaceable." The drama, the insult. The camera cuts to stunned moms clutching their purses, trying to keep their cool while Abby strutted away with her mic still hot. Not all iconic moments are dramatic. Some are just plain cringe. Like the time Abby made a cameo on a teen soap-style project, trying to deliver lines while keeping her trademark attitude. "I'm not acting. I'm being real," she snapped when a director gave her notes. The entire scene became an unintentional comedy goldmine. From the stiff delivery to the over-the-top expressions, Abby proved she might rule the dance studio. But Hollywood? That's another story. Oh, the Bao Empire. Jojo Siwa's rise as a brand, not just a dancer, infuriated Abby. She didn't like that Jojo came with pre-packaged merch, glitter jackets, and her own fanbase. "She's not a star yet," Abby wrote. "You can't come in here acting like you own the place." Jesselyn clapped back. "She's making a place for herself." And Jojo, in true Jojo fashion, just kept smiling, while her bows sold out everywhere. This is one of the more painful yet unforgettable moments. Abby cornered a young dancer backstage after a performance didn't meet her standards. Her words were sharp. "You don't deserve to be here if you're not going to work like you wanted." It was brutal. Fans were divided. Some said it was the push that separated good dancers from great ones. Others said it was way too far. But no matter where you stand, it was classic Abby. Intense, unfiltered, and controversial. Let's not forget one of the most unexpected plot twists in Abby's legacy, her return to TV after serving time in prison. When she walked back into the studio in Dance Moms, Resurrection, rolling in on a motorized chair and barking orders as if no time had passed, the drama was unreal. "Did you miss me?" she asked the stunned dancers. The answer? It didn't matter. Abby was back and she was ready to reclaim her throne. For all the fire and fury, Abby has had her vulnerable moments too. In one emotional episode, after feeling the moms had turned on her and the girls weren't responding to her leadership, she broke down in tears. "I gave everything to this team," she sobbed. "This studio is my life, and no one appreciates that." It was a rare look behind the curtain. Beneath the strict coach persona was a woman who lived for dance, even when it consumed her. In a move that stunned everyone, Abby cut a dancer moments before going on stage, deciding that they just weren't ready. The girl had rehearsed all week. The team had practiced the formations. But Abby, in true dramatic fashion, pulled the plug. "I'm not putting my name on mediocrity," she said, and just like that, the number was one girl short. Backstage, chaos erupted. But Abby? She never flinched. By now, Abby's battles with Kathy from the Candy Apples are legendary. But one specific fight stands above the rest, when the two confronted each other in the hallway after a competition, hurling insults, choreography shade, and yes, even calling each other pathetic. "You steal choreography because you can't come up with your own," Abby screamed. Kathy fired back. "At least my team doesn't walk out every week." It was the ultimate showdown, and fans still quote it like a Dance Mom's gospel. Abby Lee Miller is many things: teacher, tyrant, motivator, meme queen. Love her or loathe her, there's no denying she left a massive footprint on reality television and pop culture. She shaped careers, sparked scandals, and delivered lines that will echo in the Dance Moms fandom forever. This 7th installment has shown once again that Abby doesn't just create dancers, she creates moments. And whether she's throwing chairs, throwing shade, or throwing down backstage, let's start strong with one of Abby's most infamous catchphrases: "Save your tears for your pillow." Delivered to a sobbing student, this line quickly became part of Dance Mom's legend. It was cold, calculated, and so typically Abby. But what made this moment extra iconic? It wasn't just what she said, it was when she said it. The pressure was sky high, emotions were boiling over, and instead of comforting the clearly distraught dancer, Abby snapped. Fans were divided. Was she motivating or just mean? Either way, the phrase became a meme and a mantra, painted on signs, printed on t-shirts, and forever etched into Dance Mom's history. If there's one thing Abby loved more than pyramid reveals, it was control, especially over choreography. So when the moms or dancers started questioning her creative vision, she didn't hold back. Remember the time Abby stormed out mid-rehearsal because she thought no one respected her choreography? "If you think you can do it better, you do it," she yelled before slamming the door and leaving everyone scrambling. Or when the moms wanted a say in the music choice for a group number, Abby snapped back with her classic stare and a scathing, "You're not the choreographer, I am." Even when she was right, she always made it explosive. That's Abby. Even her power moves come with drama. Let's talk about one of the most explosive Abby Lee Miller scenes ever filmed, the parking lot fight with Kelly Highland. Technically, it was outside the studio, but oh, did it shake the ALDC to its core. It started inside the studio with yet another disagreement over favoritism and solo assignments. But when Kelly felt her daughters were being overlooked, things spiraled fast. The yelling match that spilled into the parking lot was chaotic. Kelly storming off, Abby following, and producers scrambling to hold the line. "You're nothing but a bitter, washed-up mom living through your kids," Abby shouted, face flushed with rage. Kelly's comeback? "At least I have my kids." Cue jaws on the floor. While it ended in chaos and eventually court, this moment sealed Abby's reputation as the ultimate no-holds-barred reality TV boss. The core philosophy of Abby Lee Miller's universe? No dancer is safe. She said it constantly, everyone is replaceable. But it really hit home when she actually did it. Whether it was bringing in a new dancer mid-season, or pitting the minis against the OGs, Abby thrived on fear-based motivation. One of the most brutal instances? When she benched Maddie, not for underperforming, but for not rehearsing it. Maddie, her golden girl. Abby's explanation? "I don't care how good you are. If you slack, you sit." Harsh. Unforgiving. Classic Abby. But it's this very attitude that kept the show unpredictable. You never knew who was next on the chopping block. And that's what kept fans hooked. Kathy Nesbitt-Stein and the Candy Apples may have been the rival studio, but Kathy also gave Abby some of her most explosive on-screen feuds. One of their most unhinged fights went down in Las Vegas, and it was TV gold. The two came face-to-face during a national competition, and the tension exploded instantly. Kathy mocked Abby's choreography, Abby insulted Kathy's parenting, and then the insults turned personal. Again, Abby's legendary zinger? "Why don't you go back to Ohio and teach your dancers how to point their feet?" Kathy, in full clapback mode, threw shade about Abby's weight, her teaching methods, and even her wardrobe. The producers had to physically step in. It was messy. It was mean. It was everything fans signed up for. Abby had a complicated relationship with all her dancers, but with Maddie and Mackenzie, it was next level. They were her stars, her chosen ones. But that also meant double the pressure, and sometimes double the drama. There was one rehearsal where Abby lost her mind on Mackenzie for not executing a turn cleanly. "This is not baby ballet. If you're not ready, step aside," she barked as Mackenzie burst into tears. Then, just minutes later, she turned around and praised Maddie like she was the second coming of Martha Graham. Mackenzie's face said it all. It was moments like these that made fans question Abby's methods. Was she teaching or traumatizing? Never forget the time Abby made a scene, not during a competition, but at an actual awards show. The team had just won a prestigious dance award, and the girls were glowing. But Abby? She was furious that she didn't get the spotlight. She interrupted the girls' big moment to make sure she was recognized. "They wouldn't be here without me," she snapped at producers. "Where's my microphone? Where's my name?" Even the girls looked stunned. But Abby didn't care. She marched across the stage, interrupted the speech, and reminded everyone that she was the one pulling the strings. The fans were torn. Was it narcissistic, or was she claiming the credit she earned? Either way, it was iconic. Let's not sugarcoat it. Abby could be brutal. One of the most shocking moments in Dance Mom's history was when she berated a dancer with the infamous trifecta: "You're lazy, you're stupid, you're dumb." Fans were horrified. Even the moms, who were used to Abby's harshness, were left speechless. Holly stepped in with a rare moment of defiance. She's a child, Abby. A child. But Abby wouldn't back down. And she needs to toughen up if she wants to survive in this business. That moment sparked a massive backlash, but Abby never apologized. She doubled down in interviews later, saying, "It's tough love. That's how you make stars." Whether you saw it as discipline or verbal destruction, this moment became one of Abby's most unforgettable. One of Abby's biggest power moves ever? Quitting mid-season. No warning. No note. Just a gone. After a particularly stressful week involving the minis, the moms, and legal battles off screen, Abby walked into the studio, threw down her bag and said, "I'm done. I've had enough of this circus." Then she left. 4 hours, the crew thought she'd come back. She didn't. The moms tried to rally. The girls were in tears, and producers scrambled to figure out the next move. Abby's silence only added to the chaos. Eventually, guest choreographers stepped in. But it wasn't the same. And the message was loud and clear. Without Abby, Dance Moms wasn't Dance Moms. As if the ALDC moms didn't have enough to stress over, Abby threw a massive curveball one week. She invited dancers from AUDC, Abby's ultimate dance competition, to audition for the team. It was a jaw-dropper. Not only did these girls come in hungry and polished, but Abby made it crystal clear. They weren't just visiting. They were potential replacements. "I'm looking for new blood. Some of these girls have gotten too comfortable," Abby smirked. It was a psychological warfare tactic, and it worked. Panic spread. The moms lost it. The dancers overcorrected. And Abby? She watched the chaos unfold with a satisfied smile. Abby's legal troubles were no secret, but the moment she returned to the studio after her court appearances, it was surreal. With the moms whispering and the cameras rolling, Abby addressed the elephant in the room head-on. "Yes, I made mistakes," she said, "but I'm still here, and I'm still teaching." It was the first time fans saw her vulnerable. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't insulting anyone. For a moment, she was human. Of course, the drama wasn't over. But the way she handled that return, confident, unapologetic, unbothered, was pure Abby Lee Miller. Love her or loathe her, Abby Lee Miller is the beating heart of Dance Moms. Without her, there would be no pyramid, no showdowns, no iconic walk down the hallway exits. She is drama. She is chaos. She is everything reality TV was built for. Part 7 reminded us of Abby's full range, from the ruthless to the ridiculous, from unfiltered fury to unexpected vulnerability. One minute she's screaming about a crooked foot, the next she's crying in the studio bathroom. That's the Abby effect. And don't worry, there are plenty more iconic moments to cover. Because with Abby Lee Miller, the drama never dies. It just gets louder. Just when you think Abby Lee Miller can't get any more outrageous, she one-ups herself. If Dance Moms had a Hall of Fame, Abby would already have an entire wing, and we're not done listing her greatest hits. From explosive walkouts to surprise additions, from shocking favoritism to fierce face-offs with moms and dancers alike, Part 7 continues with the chaos only Abby could deliver. The surprise solo snatch. There's nothing more sacred at the ALDC than a solo, and nothing more savage than having it snatched away last minute. And you know Abby lived for that drama. One week, Nia was all set to perform a powerful solo. Rehearsals were in full swing. Holly was cautiously optimistic. But then Abby walked into the studio with a different plan. Kalani had returned, and with her, a shift in Abby's mood. "This routine needs someone who can actually tell a story," Abby said pointedly, eyes locked on Nia. In a blink, the solo was gone. Reassigned. No warning. No explanation. Cue Holly fuming, Nia trying to stay composed, and the rest of the moms in full gossip mode. Abby's reasoning? It's not personal. It's professional. But come on, we all know that was a power play. And it worked. Abby versus the props. If there's one thing Abby hated more than a sloppy pirouette, it was props in a group dance, unless she was the one who chose them. One week, the moms dared to suggest adding umbrellas to a lyrical routine. Abby's reaction? Nuclear. Umbrellas? "What is this, Mary Poppins?" she shrieked. "You think I'm going to let some $2 prop from the dollar store upstage my choreography? Not happening." The room went silent. Melissa tried to smooth things over with her usual, "It was just a suggestion, Abby," but that only made things worse. "Then suggest you find another studio," Abby fired back. The umbrellas disappeared. The tension didn't. The time Abby took credit for a routine she didn't choreograph. This one had the fan base in a frenzy. During one competition, guest choreographer Gianna had taken the lead on a stunning contemporary group number that brought the judges to tears. The girls won first place. Cue the post-show celebration and Abby swooping in. "I knew the judges would love my vision," she gushed during the victory interview. That's why I'm the best in the business. Gianna? Nowhere to be seen. The moms? Furious. You didn't even choreograph it. Jill snapped in confessional. Give credit where it's due. Abby's defense? It's my name on the wall. They work under me. That means I win. Period. Fans were divided. Was she stealing glory, or simply claiming her role as Queen Bee? When Abby threatened to replace the entire team. Yes, the entire team. One dramatic week, Abby had had it. The moms were bickering nonstop, the girls were uninspired, and she wasn't seeing the level of commitment she demanded. Her solution? I'll build a new team from scratch, she said coldly. I can walk out to that sidewalk and find 10 girls who want it more than you do. The studio froze. She wasn't bluffing either. The very next day, she brought in new dancers, fresh faces, wide eyes, ready to do whatever Abby said. It was psychological warfare. The ALDC girls danced like their lives depended on it, because honestly, they kind of did, and Abby basked in the chaos. Mission accomplished. The infamous "you're too tall" speech. There's being tough, and then there's whatever this moment was. During Pyramid 1 week, Abby turned to Kendall and announced, "You're too tall. That's why you'll never book anything." Cue stunned silence. It wasn't about talent. Not about performance. Just height. Jill immediately jumped in. She's growing, Abby. What do you want her to do, shrink? Abby didn't flinch. I want her to stretch down. Be less. Because no one wants a showgirl in a sea of minutes. Even Melissa, usually Team Abby, looked visibly uncomfortable. But Abby stood by it, and fans still debate to this day. Harsh truth or unnecessary cruelty. Abby and the infamous ice cream meltdown. Who could forget Abby's ice cream breakdown? After a rough competition where the ALDC placed second, aka first to lose in Abby's book, the moms tried to lighten the mood by taking the girls out for ice cream. Abby found out and lost it. You're celebrating? Celebrating. When you embarrass me on stage. She stormed into the parlor in full glam, ripped the cone from a girl's hand, yes really, and shouted, "You should be practicing, not licking sprinkles." Producers had to intervene. Fans were outraged. Abby didn't care. Winners work. Losers eat ice cream. That time Abby tried to make a music video happen. Oh yes, you remember. At one point, Abby got it in her head that she was more than just a dance coach. She was a visionary. A mogul. A triple threat manager. So she launched a full-blown music video project, starring her dancers. She rented a flashy set. Brought in backup dancers. Called in a barely known pop singer. And then, naturally, started barking orders like she was directing a Scorsese film. The moms were confused. The girls were exhausted. And Abby was in full meltdown mode over lighting and lip-syncing. "This is $1 million opportunity and you're ruining it," she screamed at JoJo mid-shoot. Spoiler, the video flopped. But the drama? Instant classic. The surprise return of Chloe. One of the most emotional and chaotic moments came when Chloe returned to the studio after her long absence. Everyone expected tears, maybe a hug. Abby didn't even look up. "Oh, you're back," she muttered. The girls gasped. Christy held her breath. The room was buzzing. "You think you can just walk in here and get a solo? This isn't a fairy tale." It was stone cold. And fans felt every second of it. The emotional reunion everyone hoped for? Denied. Abby turned it into a power play like always. When Abby mocked a dancer's injury. This one, yeah, it got ugly. During a rough rehearsal, one dancer pulled a hamstring mid-leap and crumpled to the floor. The room fell silent, except for Abby. If you're going to be that dramatic, go audition for Broadway. Maddie looked horrified. Nia was frozen. Even Gianna looked like she wanted to disappear. The dancer limped off. Abby rolled her eyes. Turns out, the injury was real, confirmed later by a doctor. Did Abby apologize? Of course not. Injuries are part of the business. Learn to dance through pain. It was cold, controversial, and totally on brand. Abby's Broadway Baby tribute breakdown. Let's take a moment to talk about the one time Abby truly broke down, and not out of anger. When her beloved dog, Broadway Baby, passed away, Abby came to the studio completely unraveled. She sobbed through Pyramid, clutched baby's photo during confessional, and couldn't even finish sentences. It was jarring. This was the same woman who once told a crying child to go cry in the parking lot. The moms were actually comforting her for once. The dancers hugged her, and fans got a glimpse behind the walls. Beneath the tough shell, there was a real, heartbroken woman. It didn't last long, but it was one of Abby's most human moments ever caught on camera. "Do you want to dance or do you want to cry?" This quote should be on Abby's tombstone. It came during a particularly tense rehearsal, when multiple girls were struggling with the choreography and emotions were high. Abby wasn't having it. "You didn't think we were done, did you?" Because Abby Lee Miller isn't just a dance teacher. She's a walking reality TV headline. In Part 8 of our iconic Abby Lee Miller series, we're diving into even more outrageous, unforgettable, and oh-so-Abby moments. From savage takedowns to theatrical walkouts, this round is all about the scenes that had the audience screaming, "Did she really just say that?" If the dance floor is a battlefield, then Abby is the general, and she's not letting anyone slack off in her army. Let's get into it. Second place is the first to lose. This quote isn't just Abby being Abby. It's a philosophy she lived and taught with terrifying consistency. When the ALDC didn't take home first, Abby didn't sugarcoat anything. Instead, she treated the team like they had completely failed. In one jaw-dropping moment, Abby tossed a second-place trophy into the trash right in front of the team. "You want to celebrate this? Go join a rec team. We're here to win." Savage? Yes. Effective? Debate still rages. But Abby's extreme obsession with gold medals birthed many of the most dramatic episodes in Dance Moms history. Abby's feud with Kira reaches nuclear levels. Kira and Abby never really meshed, but Season 5 saw their relationship explode. During a heated rehearsal, Abby accused Kalani of phoning it in and made a snide comment about Kalani only being on the team because of her looks. That was enough for Kira. She stormed down from the viewing room and launched into one of the most intense Mom vs. Abby screaming matches in the show. "You don't get to talk about my kid like that. She's lazy. I don't care if you're her mom." Security got involved. Kalani was in tears. The other moms were frozen in place. And Abby? She refused to back down, even when Kira threatened to pull Kalani from the team. Iconic. Abby kicks the moms out of the studio. All of them. Fed up with constant interruptions and snide comments from the viewing room, Abby once made the boldest move yet. She banned all the moms from watching rehearsal. "You're distracting, you're negative, and honestly, you're wasting oxygen." She kicked them out mid-rehearsal, slammed the studio door shut, and continued barking counts at the dancers like nothing had happened. Of course, the moms just stood in the hallway, furiously whispering and planning their revenge. But the damage was done. When Abby doesn't want an audience, she'll get rid of it real fast. Abby's meltdown over missing a step. One of Abby's wildest freakouts happened during a rehearsal where Mackenzie missed a single beat in a hip-hop combo. Instead of correcting her with some patience, Abby lost it. "This is a joke. You look like you're dancing underwater." She mimicked Mackenzie's movement in a deliberately slow, mocking routine, then yelled, "Do it right or don't do it at all." Mackenzie burst into tears. Melissa tried to step in. Abby just raised her voice louder. The internet went wild with reactions. Half the fans were stunned, and the other half made memes out of Abby's underwater dance impersonation. "If your kid's so great, why are you here?" Abby loved a power move, and this was one of her favorites. When a mom got too cocky about her child's talent, Abby would go in hard with her ultimate insult. "If your kid's so great, why are you at my studio?" This singer shut down so many arguments it might as well be copyrighted. She used it on Jill, Christy, Kira, even Jesselyn. The insinuation was always clear. "You may think your kid's a star, but without me, they're nothing." Brutal. Cold. Classic Abby. Abby versus Broadway Baby's funeral. Yes, we're going there. One of the most unexpected emotional breakdowns from Abby wasn't about a competition loss, a mom fight, or even a betrayal. It was the death of her beloved dog, Broadway Baby. Abby took the loss hard. She held a full-on funeral for the dog, complete with flowers, speeches, and tears. The moms were supportive at first, until Abby started blaming the team's recent failures on her emotional grief. "I can't think straight without her. No wonder we're losing." It was a moment that showed Abby's softer side, and then quickly veered into typical over-the-top Abby territory. That time Abby forced a prop into a solo, and it was a disaster. Abby has always believed in visual storytelling, but one time she pushed it way too far. She had Kendall dance a solo involving a huge feather fan, but the prop was so awkward and oversized, Kendall couldn't even hit her turns properly. The performance bombed. When the judges gave low scores, Jill exploded. "You set her up to fail." Abby didn't flinch. If she were a real dancer, she'd make it work. That's Abby logic. Even if she hands you a flaming hula hoop on stilts, she still expects you to nail the triple pirouette. Abby's iconic one-liners, ranked. Let's take a moment to appreciate some of Abby's most unforgettable quotes, because honestly, she's a soundbite machine. "Save your tears for your pillow. Second place is the first to lose. This is not a drive-through studio. You don't just drop in and expect results. Your kid is a product of your mouth. You're dancing like a dead fish." Every one of these quotes could be framed and hung in the ALDC as motivational posters, if your idea of motivation is fear-based perfectionism. Abby's brief stint as a pageant coach, and the disaster that followed. In a crossover moment no one saw coming, Abby took on coaching a pageant girl for one episode, and it ended in total disaster. She tried to mold the contestant into a mini Maddie, forcing emotional storytelling into a routine that was supposed to be fun and flirty. "She's not crying. Why isn't she crying?" The pageant mom clapped back. "She's doing a pageant, not auditioning for Les Miserables." Moments of reality TV gold. The tension escalated into a full-on brawl backstage, with Abby eventually leaving before the results were even announced. Iconic chaos from start to finish. Abby uses Maddie as an example. Again, if the ALDC had a gold star, it was Maddie Ziegler. And Abby never missed an opportunity to hold Maddie up as the ultimate standard. She gets it. She works for it. She lives it. Be more like Maddie. This mantra didn't just create drama. It created resentment. The other girls were constantly compared to Maddie, and it got to the point where some of them stopped even trying to impress Abby. Still, in Abby's world, Maddie was the blueprint. And Abby reminded everyone every chance she got. The Abby vs. Laurieann Gibson showdown. In a wild twist, choreographer Laurieann Gibson was brought in to work with the team, and Abby. Bad idea. From the jump, Abby was defensive and territorial. Laurieann tried to give notes, and Abby snapped. "You're in my house now." Laurieann wasn't intimidated. She fired back, then acted like a leader instead of a dictator. The girls stood frozen, caught in the crossfire of two titans of the dance world. And when Abby stormed out mid-rehearsal, it became clear she wasn't used to sharing power, especially not with someone as bold as Laurieann. Abby versus commercial choreography. This is not art. When the team got the chance to audition for a dance commercial, Abby had a full-blown meltdown over the style. "This is trashy. This isn't art. It's cheerleading with glitter." The moms were thrilled about the exposure, but Abby saw it as a betrayal of her classic, technical values. Despite the team eventually booking the gig, Abby showed up on set only to criticize every move. "If you want to sell out, go work for Disney." Ouch. Abby's breakdown in the dressing room, that's another one. In a rare season 6 moment, Abby completely unraveled in the dressing room after a particularly brutal competition weekend. Sitting on the floor with her head in her hands, she whispered, "I can't do this anymore. They all hate me." The moms were silent, maybe out of guilt, maybe out of disbelief. It was a vulnerable, human moment from a woman who had spent years screaming, posturing, and dominating every room she entered. And that made it all the more iconic. Final thoughts. The Abby Lee show never ends. From feuds to freakouts to flawless singers, Abby Lee Miller is still one of the most magnetic personalities to ever hit reality TV. She may not always be right, she may not always be kind, but she is always unforgettable. Part 8 reminded us that behind every wild quote and chaotic rehearsal lies a woman completely obsessed with creating greatness, no matter the cost. And that obsession has given us endless. We've seen her scream, scheme, sabotage, and sob. Yet somehow, Abby Lee Miller always finds a way to top herself. Welcome back to part 9 of our never-ending saga of iconic Abby Lee Miller moments, where we dive even deeper into the chaos, the cruelty, the comedy, and the undeniable charisma that made Abby the queen of dance moms. This time, we're unlocking some of her pettiest fights, most jaw-dropping meltdowns, and truly unhinged power moves that only Abby could deliver with a straight face. Let's get into it. The pyramid may fall, but Abby's drama empire? Still standing strong. You think you can just replace me? At one point, the ALDC moms were fed up. After a particularly rocky few weeks, they hired a guest choreographer, and that set Abby off like never before. Abby barged into rehearsal, didn't even look at the girls, and threw her bag down. You think you can replace me with some 2-bit choreographer off Instagram? You don't replace me. I built this team. It wasn't just defensive, it was war. Abby spent the next 10 minutes tearing down the substitutes' choreography, calling it messy, uninspired, and high school at best. Of course, the girls won the competition that week. But did Abby admit defeat? Nope. They won because of my training. That other woman just pressed play. Abby's war on costumes. You look like a joke. One of Abby's most unhinged yet strangely entertaining power trips? Her obsession with costumes. She's called them clownish, sloppy, and even cheap like a clearance rack in Vegas. Her words, not ours. One week, when the costumes arrived late from the seamstress, Abby lost her mind. She held the bedazzled unitards up, looked the girls dead in the eye, and said, "If you wear this on stage, I won't be there. I will not attach my name to this disaster." She then proceeded to re-choreograph the entire routine in under 30 minutes, just so she could justify pulling the dance. The kicker? She showed up at the competition anyway. Sat in the back. Arms crossed. Iconic. Abby's savage comment on a growth spurt. Sometimes, Abby's comments were less about technique and more about puberty. When one dancer started to hit a growth spurt and struggled with her turns, Abby said, "You're dancing like a baby giraffe, all legs, no control." Everyone gasped. The mom? Furious. The dancer? In tears. But Abby doubled down. If you grow 6 inches in a month, learn how to use those legs or get off the stage. The internet exploded. Memes. Reaction videos. The baby giraffe moment lives rent-free in Dance Mom's history. That time Abby got petty over a birthday party. Don't invite Abby to your kid's birthday if you want peace. When Maddie didn't invite Abby to her off-camera birthday bash, Abby pretended to be unbothered. But the next day in rehearsal? Full-blown passive aggression. "Oh, were you all too tired from the pizza party to dance today?" I wouldn't know. I wasn't invited." Then she sat down mid-rehearsal, crossed her arms, and refused to give corrections. "Clearly, you've got it all figured out without me." You could feel the tension through the screen. Abby's fight with production. This is my show. At one point, even the producers had enough of Abby's chaos. She kept walking off camera, refusing to film scenes, and threatening to quit mid-season. In one iconic behind-the-scenes fight, she turned to the producer and yelled, "This is my show. No one's tuning in for you. They came for me, and you know it." Security had to separate Abby from the crew. The dancers were in the next room, frozen in silence. Meanwhile, Abby's mic stayed hot the whole time, so the audience got every last word of that tantrum. And the kicker? She still showed up for Pyramid the next day like nothing happened. Abby's personal vendetta against a prop designer. The props era of Dance Moms brought us a whole new level of absurdity. But Abby's expectations? Absolutely insane. One time, the team was supposed to use a rotating flower prop on stage. When it jammed during dress rehearsal, Abby flipped. "I told you I wanted magic, not a mechanical failure at a science fair." She cornered the poor prop guy backstage and yelled, "If I wanted mediocrity, I'd go to Hobby Lobby." That line shouldn't be funny, but it's burned into the fandom's brain forever. Abby's fake-out exit that fooled no one. There's nothing more dramatic than a classic "I quit" moment. And Abby gave us one of the best fake-outs in reality TV history. Mid-rehearsal, after a screaming match with the moms over favoritism, shocking, Abby dramatically walked out of the studio announcing, "That's it. I'm done. Find someone else to yell at your ungrateful brats." She got in her car, sped off, only to return 20 minutes later with a Starbucks and zero explanation. "I needed a refresher," she said casually. "Let's get back to work." Only Abby. The infamous "she'll never be Maddie" speech. Oh, this one hurt. After a promising solo from a dancer trying to rise in the ranks, Abby praised the performance, then immediately undercut the moment. "She's good, but she'll never be Maddie." Even the room fell silent. It became one of Abby's most cold-blooded moments. That dancer worked her heart out, only to be reminded she'd always be in someone else's shadow. Abby never apologized. In fact, she repeated the line later on the reunion special. "It's just the truth." Brutal. Abby's surprise solo switch, aka Sabotage. Nothing screams Abby Lee Miller like throwing a curveball before a major competition. On one occasion, she waited until the team arrived at the venue, and then told one dancer she'd be doing a solo instead of the planned trio. "But I didn't rehearse." The dancer cried. "Well, maybe you should always be ready," Abby said coolly. Stars adapt. Amateurs whine. The solo was shaky. The dancer was crushed. And the moms? On the verge of mutiny. Dance Moms. Iconic Abby Lee Miller moments. Compilation, Part 7. Another 6,000 words of legendary Abby moments. If there's one thing Abby Lee Miller mastered better than choreography, it's creating iconic TV. Her chaotic blend of tough love, biting sarcasm, and nuclear-level tantrums made Dance Moms legendary. Just when you think she's hit her limit, she flips the script again. Let's unpack even more of Abby's unforgettable, untamed, totally unfiltered moments from the show. And yes, every second is peak reality TV chaos. The studio is not a daycare. It was a typical day at the ALDC, until Abby noticed one of the younger siblings running around the studio. The moms didn't think much of it. But Abby? Abby exploded. "This is a professional dance studio, not a daycare center," she screamed. "If your kids can't keep still, leave them at home." Everyone went silent as she pointed dramatically at Kira, who had Kalani's little brother sitting in the corner quietly with an iPad. Quiet or not, Abby wasn't having it. "This is a distraction. I don't tolerate distractions. I train champions, not babysit." The meltdown was so over the top that producers had to cut filming for a moment. But it didn't stop fans from turning the quote into an iconic one-liner that still gets repeated to this day. Abby's fake tears call out. During one particularly dramatic rehearsal, one of the dancers got emotional. She was frustrated with the choreography and started to cry. Cue Abby. "Those tears are fake." "Fake? You're just doing this for attention," she yelled, arms crossed, not an ounce of empathy on her face. The dancer froze, caught between embarrassment and frustration. The moms started to push back, especially Holly, who calmly told Abby, "She's a child, Abby." But Abby wasn't finished. "If she wants to cry, she can do it at home. I don't run a therapy center. I run a dance company." Cold. Harsh. Unrelenting. It was moments like these that made people both hate and obsess over Abby Lee Miller in equal measure. Get your legs up or get out. Abby's obsession with perfect leg extension is legendary, and so is her ability to humiliate someone for not reaching it. During a lyrical group rehearsal, she called out one of the dancers in front of the entire team. "That leg is about as high as my patience, non-existent." The girl tried to adjust. Abby stormed in. "Get your legs up or get out. You either want to be a dancer or you want to sit on the bench and watch someone else win." She clapped loudly mid-count and ordered Gianna to reblock the number without her. It was brutal, but it also showed exactly how Abby used fear, not praise, to get what she wanted. Terrible teaching method? Maybe. Compelling TV? Absolutely. Abby versus the judges panel. Abby didn't just fight with moms. She took her rage straight to the judges' table when she didn't agree with the results. One infamous moment came after a contemporary solo that Abby was sure would win. When it placed second, she stormed to the panel post-show and demanded an explanation. "You clearly don't understand what you're looking at," she told the stunned judge. You're rewarding basic tricks, not technique. Do your homework before you come back here. Security was called. And Abby? Completely unfazed. She spun around and declared to the camera, "If I don't speak up, who will? I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to create stars." That time Abby taught from her car. Yes, it actually happened. Abby was so fed up with the moms and the drama in the studio that she refused to come inside. Instead, she parked her car out front, rolled down the window, and coached the dancers from the driver's seat. It was one of the most unhinged power moves ever filmed. Gianna tried to salvage the class. The girls were confused. The moms were livid. She's sitting in an SUV shouting corrections through a megaphone. "What are we doing here?" Jill yelled in confessional. But Abby didn't care. "If they can't hear me through glass, they won't hear me on stage either." Legend behavior. Abby loses it over costumes again. Costumes were always a point of drama, but one week, it reached a boiling point when the moms brought bedazzled leotards instead of Abby's approved designs. "What the hell is this?" Abby shrieked, holding up a sparkly hot mess. "This looks like something a showgirl would wear at a budget Vegas bar." The moms tried to explain that the original costumes hadn't arrived yet, but Abby wasn't having it. "I don't care if your dog ate it or your Amazon order got lost. My girls do not go on stage looking like this." She threw the leotards in the trash in front of everyone. Yes, really. The trash can solo audition. Never forget the time Abby hosted solo auditions and, instead of giving verbal feedback, she dropped audition sheets into a literal trash can. "I don't need to sugarcoat anything," she said flatly. "If your name is in the trash, so is your solo." She dramatically dropped Kendall's paper in the bin. Then Paige's. Then even Kalani's, for drama, obviously. When Jill confronted her, Abby clapped back with a savage line, "I call it a trash can. You can call it your daughter's future." The internet lost it. Abby's back in my day rant. One of Abby's favorite things to do? Go on long-winded rants about how much harder she had it growing up as a dancer. You think you've got it tough? We didn't have rhinestones and matching bags. We had blisters and fear. She once gave an entire 15-minute lecture on how she rehearsed in a concrete garage without air conditioning or water breaks. The girls just blinked. The moms sighed. And Abby ended the tirade by yelling, "You don't want it bad enough. That's why you'll never be me." Iconic. Ridiculous. So very Abby. I want stars, not stick figures. Body image and Abby? A toxic combination. During a fitting, she once told a dancer, "You have to look like a star, not a stick figure with legs. Eat a sandwich." Mom jaws hit the floor. The dancer looked crushed. Was she body shaming? Was she trying to help? Did she know the difference? Doubtful. Abby continued, "If you want to dance professionally, you better be ready to take critiques, even about your body." Holly was one of the few to speak up. "This is dangerous, Abby. They're still growing." Abby? Good. Then grow a spine. Abby's mid-pyramid exit. Pyramid was always sacred. A ceremony of dominance. But one week, Abby just stopped mid-speech and walked out. Gianna looked confused. The moms were panicking. The girls just stared. Why? Because Abby wasn't feeling the energy. "You all look like you'd rather be anywhere else. So guess what? Now you're nowhere," she snapped, grabbing her purse. She didn't come back for hours. By the time she returned, she had a smoothie in hand and acted like nothing had happened. Peak diva energy. Abby's "I'm the star" confession. In a rare moment of truth, Abby once told producers, "Let's be real, I'm the reason people watch. Not the moms. Not the kids. Me." And honestly, she wasn't wrong. Love her or hate her, Dance Moms without Abby was like a dance without music, just awkward and offbeat. Her constant chaos, insane expectations, and TV-perfect sound bites turned a simple dance show into an iconic reality empire. And she knew it. "I am Dance Moms," she said, arms crossed, chin high. "No Abby. No show. Period." Final section. Why we can't quit Abby. Say what you want.